Welcome to the Recruitment Business Accelerator Podcast. Creating a successful recruitment business is not about you being the best hands-on biller or driving most of the activity for your team. It's about you becoming the best strategist, marketer, and leader so that you can create a powerful business that grows quickly and does not depend on you. For the last 10 years, Nikki Coffin and Katie Green have been advising recruitment business owners just like you to do exactly that. If you want to grow your business by 20% to 250% in 6 months or less, half your hours, and build a powerful recruitment business that doesn't depend on you, keep listening. If you want it faster, visit centeredexcellence.co.uk/apply. Here's Nikki and Katie.
So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. I am Nikki Coffin, and we are on episode number 8 of the Recruitment Business Accelerator podcast. So welcome, everybody. And we are here today to talk about the 4 critical machines that you must have set up in your recruitment business if you're serious about scaling successfully and scaling safely. So we're going to dive in straight away. And how are you doing, Katie? Good to see you.
I'm good. Welcome, everyone. Great. Good to see you all this afternoon. Yeah, welcome to this episode number 9. It's an exciting one.
So before we sort of dive in deep with this content, what we're about to share today, a lot of people think about, but actually they don't really realise that you can simplify this in your recruitment business to make it much easier for you. And certainly one of the things that we see with the recruitment business owners that we start working with, they've had to be really individual in terms of actually setting up their recruitment business. So they've had to focus on making the money, making the placements in order to actually build a business in the beginning. But what happens is there becomes a point, and Dan Sullivan calls it like the ceiling of complexity, where you want to scale, but you can't because there's not enough hours in the day. And the only way to do that scaling is to hire other people and to bring other people into the business. And what we find happens with most recruitment business owners are that they're pretty maverick. They're certainly used to working on their own. And because they're quite maverick and they're relatively creative, they are not particularly the best people at implementing and following process and systems. Mm-hmm. But in order to scale, you have to have other people in your team. And so what they do is they say, right, we've got to go and hire people to scale. So go and hire another 360 recruiter. Mm-hmm. There's no process, there's no onboarding, there's no real time for coaching or training or actually properly sort of setting things up. So they hire somebody who might make money, but what happens is that person comes in with their own habits, quite often quite bad habits, and certainly their own way of doing things. And so they then create this business where you've got individual silos of people doing their own thing, and you lose sight of the person who originally set up the business doesn't really have an identity. So the thing with this is recruiters come and go, and we can't change that is a fact of life, but systems stay forever. And the most important thing really is to have systems in place so that you can scale the business up and that people can step in and step out without the actual machine breaking. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Like, what are those 4 critical machines that you need to have in place, and in what order, and so that you can actually properly scale your business up, so that you can break through that ceiling of complexity into a business that gives you freedom. So you can go on holiday for 2 weeks and not have a phone call from anyone in the business. You can step away and step back from hands-on billing, and know that your clients and your candidates are going to get the same level of service they would get if they came through you. So they're really, really key. And Katie, I know obviously both of us have built businesses from scratch. And so for you, just can you run through what the 4 machines the 4 machines are, and
Yeah.
actually where you'd start with this.
Yeah, sure, absolutely, and exactly as you say, these are, and this is a nice simple way. I think this is a lovely simple way when you've got the 4 machines of thinking about a business. And to be honest, whether it's a recruitment business or any other type of business, these machines, I would say, are universal. And the key thing here is about making sure that you have all 4 of these machines. I'll explain them in a second. All 4 of these machines are working effectively. That's the key thing. So let's talk about the first machine. So the first machine is your marketing and your customers. So it's your lead generation, your acquisition of your customers. So these are the people that are coming into your business and how you actually go about and find them. So that's your first machine, so your lead generation. And then the second machine is your conversion. And this is about where you actually convert your client. So once your client is with you, what's the conversion of that client into? So in the world of recruitment, we'd be saying that's our customer coming in, our client coming in, or our candidate coming in, either a replacement of a candidate or that placement booking field of your client. And then the third machine is the delivery. So this is your value, really. This is the value and the service that you are delivering to your clients. So call it the value delivery flow. And this is about the service offering that you provide to your customers. So again, when we're talking about customers, Nikki and I are always talking about your candidates and your clients. So this is your service delivery, and that for me is your real value. And then the fourth machine is the economics. So that, if you like, takes into account all 3 of those machines and all the way end to end. So that's about your financials. That's about the money that you make and the economic drivers behind your business. Now, the key thing about all these machines is that you need all 4 of those machines to be working super effectively, because what you want is a flow between each of those machines. So each of those machines need to be flowing and working effectively so that you can get the right throughput, if you like, of activities and of results through those machines. And what we see happen so very often in recruitment and in the recruitment world is that there will be, if there's a problem in one of those machines, one or more of those machines, so it can often be more than one, what that creates is like a bottleneck. And the problem with that is when you've got a bottleneck, it means that they're not working effectively. So in other words, your throughput, your output, your results that you'll be getting are going to be seriously affected. Seriously affected because you've got a problem somewhere in that system. So so that's the 4. They're the 4 machines that you need working.
I've just posted into the forum. I was trying to open my screen, actually, a JPEG of what those 4 machines look like.
Brilliant. And, as we were just saying there, so if you're not generating, if you like, the right leads from the right customers, who specifically, then if you haven't got enough of that coming through, because you've got to have enough business flowing in. And if that's not working, then you're not then going to be able to convert enough of those leads, those customers. And then if that's not converting, then your delivery is not going to be effective. And actually, I would say, the core part, we're going to talk about this, I think, in a moment, aren't we, Nikki? But one of the key areas that I see fall down the most in recruitment, I think, is around the delivery. And that's certainly the right place to start, because everything will stem from that, from your service offering. Because when you've got that right, then it's easier to make those tweaks on those first 2 machines. But the delivery, the service, the value that you operate and that you deliver has to be absolutely bang on for your clients. And quite often, unknowingly, we're not actually delivering the right service that the client wants. So what we're doing is we're offering them a service that we believe, because of our experience in recruitment, is the right service, but actually it's not fully it's not fully serving your clients to your highest potential. So what you're giving them is a substandard service of what you could be delivering. And I say could be because when you dig under this, and we do this process with our client, when you dig deep down into your service offering and you map that service offering, you will see that there are magic moments that you deliver to your clients that perhaps you didn't even realize you were doing.
And this is what we call your unique ability, and it's something that you don't even realize you're doing it because you just think that's normal, everyone does it. But actually, when we start to unpick it, you'll find out that hardly anybody else does it. So
yeah.
And one of the problems we see, certainly within recruitment, is if you don't have these 4 machines set up, so you might have one person, and actually fundamentally what spurs these problems is the 360 model, because you will spend a week or 2 weeks generating jobs, and then you're having to then service the jobs that you get, which means then you haven't got time to do business development. So you then finish placing those jobs and you're like, we've got no more jobs to service. We then need to go and do BD. So you have this constant like peak and troughing of placements. And so imagine you've got almost like a factory line. So you've got to be making sure that enough stuff is going into the production line and along the production line all at the same time. So you've got this consistent flow.
Yeah.
And the majority of the problems are because we're expecting consultants to be doing business development, delivery, resourcing all at one time, and you can't be focusing on one thing and focusing on something else exactly the same time and be excellent at both. So
absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so in terms of where most people start, so Kate, if we were looking at and so for example, we're working with one of our clients, Jonathan, he places high-level temps, and typical recruitment business where he was the main biller, not really bothered with management, loves the selling, loves the delivery, hates the admin, hates the the customer servicing, really enjoys the new business development and making the placements. He then wanted to scale his business, and then he went and hired other 360 recruiters who then didn't deliver, and he was still finding himself doing the mainstay of the work, but also wasn't particularly bothered in managing them. So he was just had them and was almost like paying their salaries through his, what he was billing. He'd have done better off not actually having them there with him at all. So having come through our process, we said, right, okay, we need to take what's going on in your head, Jonathan, and actually we need to put that into a system, and a system that anybody can come in and follow. And a really good example of a system is McDonald's. And if you look at any single McDonald's in the world, if you want to go and have a Big Mac, whether you go into McDonald's in New York, whether you go to McDonald's in Edinburgh or Shanghai, wherever you are, pretty much you will get a product that tastes and looks almost identical. And they will say that we can have anybody, whether they're skilled or not, creating this level of product because we have a system in place. We know if they follow that system, the output will be pretty much identical. Yeah. And so that's what we're talking about, but in a much more simplified process. And one of the people I use when we're talking about this is the Wolf of Wall Street. Well, it's obviously a slightly different market, but it's not that dissimilar to the way recruitment works. And if you look at the chaos that was within his world, but how did he manage to scale it up to be such a successful multi-million pound business? It was because he had his process nailed, and specifically his penny pitch process. So he knew at what points in the process money passed hands, or it changed hands, or a commitment was made. And so if you asked any of his sales team about their penny pitch, they had a script. They learned inside out, they knew it backwards, forwards, they could roll it off. And he got his team to learn and to memorize that and to become experts at that part of the process, because he knew almost didn't matter what happened before or after that. That was the part where the deals were made. And he was clever because he was like, how do I extract my genius? And I put that into a step-by-step system, and I teach other people how to do that. And that's how he scaled up a really cool business. So there are many parts in the recruitment process. You know, I think we counted up, was it 42 or 45 different steps in the recruitment process that you can make. And what we're saying is we're not going to become expert at all of these 42. But what we do is we want to become expert at certain parts of the process, like that penny pitch, so that we know if that happens, then we will get a high level of conversion. So
definitely.
So
and I think sometimes on that, because I think often, Nikki, what can be going on is, you're right. So, for example, Wolf of Wall Street, he knew that was the part of the process that if everybody followed it in the way that he did, they'd get a good outcome. And with our clients, there'll be that one golden, or maybe more than one, but certainly there'll be one golden activity, action, part of the process that individual does, that if they were to replicate that and systemize that and teach that to their teams, like you're saying, in almost a scripted, but a really prescriptive way, that is what makes the difference. And I think if we look at all of our, our very successful clients that we work with, without mentioning specific names, but, if I think of like, Ian and Tony, if I think of Nick, if I think of Emma, if I think of all of those guys, where they have a part of their process that they've identified is that golden magic moment, that actually when all of our team or specific parts of our team are replicating that in the way that we do, so modeling themselves and then using that to really create a structured part of that process that they train on and they master, that's when big shifts have certainly happened in their productivity.
So in terms of starting, like, there's 42, 45 different parts of the process you could start like. So how do you decide where you're going to start with these 4 machines?
So the first thing is to map your service offering and get really clear on what those individual steps are, the step-by-step process that you walk your candidates and your clients through. So I would map the process for both sets of customers, because we were talking about this earlier, weren't we? It came up with one of our clients around, it came up yesterday actually in the workshops, which was all around that importance of our candidates. Understanding our candidates are as important as our clients, and making sure that service offering that we're offering our candidates is of the same quality and is detailed in the same way. So I would be recommending anybody starts by mapping those service offerings to both their sets of customers and getting very clear on what that step-by-step process is. And then within that, pulling out those unique abilities, pulling out those areas that they can model and that they can be teaching and training on with their team. So it's what are those specific points where they do certain things. There'll be a set criteria that they will do. It might be certain questions that they ask their clients or their candidates that are unique. And then once they've got those, it's about identifying those, pulling those out, and then creating those into a systemized, scripted or just a systemized process for their team.
So actually the machine you're starting is machine number 3, which is the delivery. Right. And recruitment is more complicated than a lot of businesses, because you've got 2 products. You've got your client job product and you've got your candidate product. So you need to have a service offering for both of those products, basically. And by getting clear on how are we delivering excellence for candidates and clients, and who specifically are we delivering that to is absolutely key. And this is where a lot of people fall down as well, because they will say that we do engineering, and when you actually say, well, who specifically are your target or avatar clients, it's so wide and varied and general that when you're then trying to build your lead generation machine, which is your first machine, there's just too much to go after. It's too complicated. So you want to get really clear on who am I serving? What is the service offering? And how are we actually going about delivering it? And once you know that, the who are we targeting, that is then when, and then you've got it in a systemized process, that is when you would go, next step is to actually create your lead generation machine. Yeah. And it's something that we call inch wide, mile deep, getting absolutely clear on your niche. So you get really specific about who are the clients, who are our avatar clients or avatar candidates that we need to be building up pots of, lists of, and connecting. It's a bit like, crudely, it's like having a sausage machine, but it's like putting in the meat at the beginning of the sausage machine. You've got to put enough meat in, and then for it to go through the process to get enough sausages out at the end. So, but when you know exactly who you're targeting, it makes it much easier to build lists, to start networking, to start searching on the LinkedIns of this world and connecting with those. So,
yeah, because they start to jump out at you then, don't they? When you know who it is, you've got like a very clear picture in your mind's eye of who that customer is. Then it's so much easier to know where to go to find them, and also, where they hang out and how to attract them. So, what is it that you need to be doing from a marketing perspective to actually get them to raise their hand, but also to see you, to be able to find you that much quicker. And I think people probably miss that opportunity and actually think they've got to go and find the candidates rather than using methods to attract the candidates to themselves, for example.
And the other thing about the lead generation machine, again, I would just keep it really simple. So it's almost like you pick one area, one way that you've generated business in the past that you're the best at doing. So we use a tool called the Business X-ray, where we actually do like a deep dive analysis on the business as a whole. But one of the questions we ask is, how have you won that business? Like the business that you really enjoy working, those clients you really enjoy working with, or the candidates you love working with. How did you find those in the beginning? And so there will always be sort of flags or signals of how you've been doing stuff excellently, but what we want to look at is like, what's one area that if we focus on that would give us the biggest return. So still to this day, one of the best ways to generate jobs is marketing out candidates.
Yep.
But the other thing, which, and this is where a load of people miss a trick, is most clients will have come from candidates that you either placed or candidates that you either didn't place, but candidates you've given a really good service to. And so across our client base, a large proportion of their key buying clients came from candidates that they hadn't ever placed, but they'd interviewed and dealt with really well. And they then, when they got that new job, they picked up the phone and said, "Look, I love what you did. Can you come and help me out with my recruitment?" So whatever it is, you want to pick that one area and you focus on really mastering that and getting that lead machine that into a system, into a process. So for example, one of our game changer processes, which is literally a step-by-step process, is called the MPC, Most Placeable Candidate Game Changer. And that is an example of a process that anybody now can jump into, follow and implement, and get candidates out and placed within 2 to 10 days. And we've had people who've made 8 placements in 10 days from scratch using that game changer. So so once you've got the lead generation, so you've got the leads coming in, the third machine then is to make sure that you are converting those leads into quality jobs or quality candidates. And again, people who experience in recruitment will know it's really basic stuff like, a job spec, but a process that you actually follow consistently to ask the questions. But we take that a step further, because it's not just about taking a good job spec. It's actually about how, the conversation that your team will have with a client that converts a client from just being a job to actually what we call a gold job. So this is a job that's either exclusive or retained. It's a high quality job. It's a job within your niche, and it's a job that you've got a stable of 2 or 3 candidates that you can immediately put in. And there's a different process to getting quality jobs on to just taking on a job. And so that is the part of that machine, which is the lead conversion, which is really, really worth getting good at, because I would say probably the biggest time waster, and it's not only time waster because time is money, the thing that probably sucks the biggest amount of money out of your business is working jobs that you should never be saying yes to in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because like, how many days would you say, Katie, like your consultants would work a job?
On
or spend
average,
working a job?
Working a job? Well, let's say it's 3 days, 4 days. I mean, it would be longer than that. But at the beginning, if you think about the legwork that goes in at the front end of taking a job on, what's interesting is that will be a higher proportion, if you like, of energy than once it's in flow. And actually, exactly as you're saying, if you're then taking the proportion of those jobs that aren't right, look how much energy, time, investment goes in. And not only that, it's the reputation of what level of service that client gets and the candidates get when, you know, it's a role that is never going to be filled. So it's a good proportion of time that is wasted on a role that isn't going to come to anything. So when you're working contingent recruitment, that's like burning money. You know, it's literally like setting fire.
And it's not just about setting fire to the hours that they're spending working on that job they're never going to place. It's the hours they've then lost in terms of getting more of the right opportunities that they could be filling. So, and then linked underneath all of this is, I think, one of the biggest issues that people have is in terms of why they can't get all of these machines nailed. And it's the fact that they've got consultants working 360. So they've basically got consultants working in the lead generation, the lead conversion, and then the delivery machine. And there's just, well, it's like, we use the analogy, it's like having Ronaldo saying, right, for this match, 30% of the time you're going to play up front in the position that you love and you're really amazing at. Then 30% of the match, we want you to come back and play midfield. Definitely don't go up and score, but we want you to stay midfield. And then for another third of the game, we want you to play in goal. Now, what a waste of Ronaldo's skills, but also imagine if he, you know, the frustration and the loss of energy of him not being able to play in the position that he was best suited for. So when you are looking at hiring people linked in and around these four machines, so obviously your economic machine is going to have a different type of person, because they will be probably admin, finance, your HR, the team in place to make sure that the company is running and that you get paid and you get and your business is safe. Now, those type of people are going to be different people than the ones you have in your lead generation team, who are going to be your hunters. These are the guys who thrive on opening doors. They love variety, but they get quite bored when they're doing customer service or, you know, post-placement follow-up or, you know, delivering on a role or resourcing for candidates. So the type of people that you'll be hiring in the delivery role, it's actually a totally different spec. It's somebody who's actually comes from a project management or a customer services type background, retail, nursing, you know, like a caring background, and they are people who love to develop relationships, who love to care for clients, love existing business development. Put those guys, your farmer carer types, into a business development role, they won't do it, or they procrastinate, or they'll find other stuff that they should be doing. It's just not a good use of their strength. So by changing the type of people that you're hiring into the different roles, so you're still making sure the machines are working, following your system makes it significantly easier to find people, because you're not looking for, you know, it's almost like a hen's teeth type person now, a 360 biller. In fact, actually, I don't think it's, you can get a good 360 billers, you can get great 360 billers, but you could have that person working in a different model who's generating 3 to 4 times what they would do if they were working on their own. So Yeah, it just makes it much easier to hire, and you're then also playing in a different pool from everybody else. You're hiring people from industry or hiring people who haven't got experience, but they're then learning your system, so they're not then also coming with tons of bad habits.
Right.
And also, when you've got these 4 machines linking together, if one person leaves or goes on holiday or is ill, there are 2 or 3 other people who can literally just pick up where that person left off. So
and I was talking to a client just earlier about that, Nikki, who has a team of people, and him and his business partner are the top billers. They actually represent over 50% of their turnover in revenue in terms of their own billings, and they are struggling to get their team to perform at that level. And the reason why is because they're still working a 360 model. And what's happening is, over the last 4 years, is they've literally hit this ceiling where it's almost like one step forward, 2 steps back, because they're bringing people in, they're giving them great training, but they're still not able to be successful. So it's not the training that they're giving them. And the reason they're not successful is because they're exactly that example you've given, whereas they're in and out of flow, and then people are leaving. So the point in which they've been trained, they start to actually make some momentum and are improving their billings, they're leaving. And he was saying, it's like all the time what's happening is these people are then just leaving us, and then we're back to where we are, scratch. And he said it's just felt like we've been pushing mud uphill for 4 years, because we've just hit this ceiling where we just can't go beyond that. And we can't move us, or we feel we can't move ourselves away from billing, because if we did, we'd be, 50% of our revenue would disappear. So it is a big problem for people. And I think the thing here to know is it's not you, it's not your people, it's not you, it's your process. And that is the big difference. And once you have that systemization of those machines working for you effectively, then those feast and famine months and that feeling of fear and frustration can really can shift, can disappear. Well, it does disappear.
Yes. And a thing to know is also you can implement these systems very quickly. And that's one of the things that we've developed, is systems which literally they sort of plug and play. They're done with you, and it just saves you then having to build them up yourself. So I think the thing to know is keep it really simple, and there are certain parts of the process that you really want to get very, very good at systemizing and processizing, and then bringing people in once you've got that, who then follow the process. So it's almost like sometimes we have people who come in and they might have a team of 8. They actually downsize because they know they've got the wrong people. Set up their systems and processes, and then rehire the right people in the right jobs. So, and then bam, and we've seen significant growth happen very, very quickly off the back of that. But it's a matter of stopping, reassessing, structure, and then press play from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So anything else before we sign off, Katie, to add to this?
I don't think so. Just to add, if you are a business owner who has an aspiration to sell in the future, you're a business owner who wants to be able to remove themselves away and have, managers a management system, so you're not in that business 24/7, then absolutely systemization, those 4 machines are the critical, because often, when I talk to our potential clients and new clients, they say, I felt like I've been a slave to my business and I'm locked into it. And we know that once you start systemizing and setting those processes up, and, even if you are somebody who is more of, let's say, a more creator, strategic thinker, then, the whole support can be, actually, we can help you to set those systems up, but we can show you how to do that in a way that is easy, not difficult. But once those systems are in place, you can then really do what you love. You're not going to be a slave to your business. And actually, if you like, the system, it turns itself on its head for you, and you will feel so much more in control of your business, so much more in control of your business.
So your system does the work rather than
right.
you. And the other thing about these machines is you can also use technology to automate quite a lot of it as well. So it's pretty cool. Automated sales funnels, automated searching, you know, and it can be automated either with people or with technology. So the key there is there are the keys to significant shifts. So you've got more balance, you've got more fun, you're able to spend more time with your family and have a business that thrives and is in a really healthy state. Cool.
Yeah.
So
lovely.
I'd love to hear your comments on this. Any questions you've got, please post them below the video and we will get back to you. So cheerio, guys.
See you later.